The church secretary quit without notice. And then I received a package at my door. But let me start with the moment I first felt it. That subtle shift in the atmosphere that you can't name, but can't ignore either. The kind of feeling that makes the hair on your arms stand up during worship, even when nothing is visibly wrong. My name is Vanessa Price. I'm 46 years old, and I've been a member of Greater Hope Missionary Baptist Church for 18 years. For the past 8 years, I've served as the church treasurer. I manage the finances, oversee the budget, work with the deacons on expenditures. I review every financial report that comes across my desk, or at least, I thought I did. It was a Sunday morning in late September 2024. The sanctuary was full. The choir was singing. Pastor Williams was preparing to preach. Everything looked normal, felt normal, except for one thing. Sister Dorothy Freeman, our church secretary for the past 12 years, was not in her usual seat. Now, you might think that's not unusual. People miss church sometimes. Life happens. But Dorothy Freeman had not missed a Sunday service in 12 years. Not one. She was there every single week, sitting in the third row on the left side, next to her husband, Robert. She arrived early to unlock the office and make sure the bulletins were ready. She stayed late to lock up and make sure everything was secure. She was the kind of woman you could set your watch by. Reliable, steady, always there. Until that Sunday, when she wasn't. I noticed immediately when I walked into the sanctuary. Her seat was empty. Robert was sitting there alone, staring straight ahead with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not sad, not worried, just blank. I made my way over to him before service started. "Brother Robert, is Sister Dorothy okay? I didn't see her in the office this morning." He didn't look at me when he answered, just kept staring at the pulpit. "She's fine. She's at home." "Is she sick?" "No." "Is everything all right?" He finally turned to look at me, and that's when I saw it, something in his eyes that made my stomach tighten. Not anger, not grief, something else, something like wariness. "She just needed to stay home today," he said. Then he turned back toward the front and didn't say another word. I stood there for a moment, feeling that first whisper of unease. Then I told myself I was overreacting, reading too much into a simple absence. People stay home from church sometimes. It's not a crime. But Dorothy Freeman didn't stay home from church. Ever. I took my seat in the 5th row and tried to focus on worship. But throughout the service, I kept glancing back at Robert. He sat perfectly still, didn't sing, didn't raise his hands, didn't even open his Bible when Pastor Williams called out the scripture reference. He just sat there, like a man waiting for something to be over. After service, I went to the office to pick up the monthly financial summary that Dorothy always prepared for me. That's when I saw the note on her desk. It was typed, printed on plain white paper, no signature. Effective immediately, I am resigning from my position as church secretary. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Dorothy Freeman. That was it. No explanation. No 2 weeks' notice. No personal touch. Just a cold, formal resignation. I stood there staring at that note, and the unease I'd felt earlier bloomed into something bigger. Something I couldn't name but couldn't shake. Dorothy Freeman had worked in this church office for 12 years. She knew every member by name. She organized every event. She typed every bulletin. She answered every phone call. This church was her life, and she quit with a typed note on plain white paper. Something was wrong. I didn't know what, but I knew something was wrong. The following week, the atmosphere in the church shifted in ways that were hard to define, but impossible to ignore. People were quieter, more careful. When I walked into rooms, conversations would stop. When I asked questions about Dorothy's resignation, I got vague, evasive answers. She just felt it was time to step down. She wanted to focus on other things. Sometimes people just need a change. But no one would look me in the eye when they said these things, and no one would elaborate. I went to Pastor Williams' office on Tuesday afternoon. He was sitting at his desk, going through papers. He looked up when I knocked. "Sister Vanessa, come in." I sat down across from him. "Pastor, I wanted to talk to you about Sister Dorothy's resignation." His expression didn't change. "What about it?" "It just seems sudden. She didn't give any notice. She didn't say goodbye. Don't you think that's strange? People have their reasons for the decisions they make," he said. His tone was measured, careful. "We have to respect that. But 12 years, Pastor. She's been here 12 years. And she left without even a conversation?" "Sister Vanessa." He leaned back in his chair and folded his hands. "Dorothy made a choice that was best for her. We should honor that choice and move forward. Have you talked to her? Is she okay?" "I've spoken with her briefly. She's fine. She just needs some space right now." "Space from what?" He looked at me for a long moment. And in that look, I saw something I'd never seen from Pastor Williams before. He was shutting me out, deliberately, consciously, from church responsibilities, he said finally. "Sometimes people just need a break. Pastor." "Sister Vanessa." His voice was firm now, final. "I appreciate your concern, but this matter is closed. Dorothy has resigned, and we need to respect her decision and her privacy. Now, I need to get back to my sermon preparation." I left his office feeling more unsettled than when I'd arrived. Pastor Williams had never dismissed me like that before. We'd worked together for 8 years. We had mutual respect, open communication, until that day. As I walked down the hallway toward the exit, I passed the fellowship hall. The door was cracked open, and I could hear voices inside. I recognized them immediately: Deacon Marshall, Deacon Hughes, and First Lady Williams. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard my name. "Vanessa doesn't know yet," Deacon Marshall was saying. "Should we tell her?" That was First Lady Williams. "Not yet." Deacon Hughes. "It's better if she doesn't know right now. But she's going to find out eventually. Let her find out when she finds out. The less said right now, the better." I stood frozen in the hallway. My heart was pounding. They were talking about me. About something I didn't know, something they were deliberately keeping from me. I wanted to burst through that door and demand answers, but something stopped me. Some instinct that told me if I confronted them now, they would just close ranks and tell me nothing. So I walked away, quietly. But my hands were shaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every conversation, every look, every evasive answer. Something was happening at Greater Hope Missionary Baptist Church. Something that involved Dorothy Freeman's sudden resignation. Something that other people knew about but were hiding from me. And for some reason, they thought it was better if I didn't know. The question that kept circling in my mind was simple. Why? Why would Dorothy quit without notice? Why would people stop talking when I entered a room? Why would Pastor Williams shut down my questions? Why would the deacons say I shouldn't know yet? What was there to know? Let me pause here to recap what's happened so far, because I know this is heavy. My name is Vanessa Price. I'm 46 years old and have been the church treasurer at Greater Hope for 8 years. Sister Dorothy Freeman, our church secretary for 12 years, suddenly quit without notice. Just a typed resignation letter with no explanation. I immediately felt something was wrong. When I asked questions, people gave vague answers and wouldn't look me in the eye. Pastor Williams dismissed my concerns and shut down the conversation. Then I overheard deacons saying, "I don't know yet, and it's better if she doesn't know right now." I'm being deliberately kept in the dark about something. Now let me tell you what happened next. On Wednesday afternoon, I was working from home when my doorbell rang. I opened the door to find a UPS driver with a medium-sized box. "Package for Vanessa Price?" "That's me." He handed me the box and a signature pad. I signed, took the package inside, and set it on my kitchen table. There was no return address, just my name and address and a tracking label. I stared at that box for a long time before I opened it. I don't know why. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe it was the culmination of all the unease I'd been feeling since Sunday. But something about that unmarked package made my skin crawl. Finally, I got scissors and cut through the tape. Inside was a large manila envelope. And inside that envelope were documents, Lots of documents, bank statements, receipts, canceled checks, copies of deposit slips, all from Greater Hope Missionary Baptist Church's accounts. My hands started shaking before I even began reading, because I already knew, somewhere deep in my gut, that what I was about to see would explain everything. The resignation, the silence, the evasion, the warning to keep me in the dark. I spread the documents across my kitchen table and started going through them methodically. The first thing I noticed was the deposits. For the past 3 years, there had been consistent deposits into the church's general fund, weekly offerings, tithes, special contributions. Everything looked normal. Everything matched what I'd seen in the monthly summaries Dorothy prepared for me. But then, I saw the withdrawals. Thousands of dollars, withdrawn in cash, over and over again. Amounts ranging from $500 to $3,000, sometimes multiple withdrawals in a single week. And they weren't in the monthly reports Dorothy had been giving me. My heart was racing now. I went to my home office and pulled out the file where I kept copies of all the monthly financial summaries, the reports Dorothy prepared from the bank statements and gave to me to present to the board. I compared them to the actual bank statements in front of me. The withdrawals weren't in Dorothy's reports. None of them. Her summaries showed a healthy general fund balance, steady income, reasonable expenses, everything in order. But these bank statements told a different story. They showed tens of thousands of dollars missing, money that had been withdrawn over 3 years and never accounted for in the reports I'd been presenting to the church board. Someone had been stealing from the church, and they'd been covering it up by giving me falsified financial summaries to present. The only person who had access to the bank statements before I did, the only person who prepared the monthly reports, the only person who could have created false summaries without me knowing. Dorothy Freeman, the church secretary. I sat at my kitchen table with those documents spread out in front of me, and I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. Dorothy Freeman, the woman I'd worked beside for 8 years, the woman who greeted everyone with a smile, the woman who organized our church picnics and typed our bulletins and answered our phones with such patience and grace. Dorothy Freeman had been embezzling from the church for 3 years, and she'd been giving me doctored reports so I'd never know. And then it hit me, the second wave of realization that was somehow worse than the first. Other people already knew. That's why she quit without notice. That's why Robert looked wary when I asked about her. That's why Pastor Williams shut down my questions. That's why the deacons said I shouldn't know yet. They already knew. They'd found out somehow. And they were trying to handle it quietly, keep it contained, avoid a scandal. And they were keeping me, the church treasurer, in the dark about massive financial fraud in the reports I was presenting. I felt betrayed on 2 levels. First by Dorothy, who'd stolen from the church and manipulated the reports to keep me ignorant. And second by the church leadership, who'd found out about the theft and decided I didn't need to know. But who sent me this package? Who wanted me to find out? I looked back at the documents. There, at the bottom of the stack, was a single sheet of paper with a handwritten note. Sister Vanessa, you deserve to know the truth. What they're doing isn't right. The church deserves accountability. Check the signature cards at First National Bank. Check who has signing authority on the accounts. You'll understand why they wanted to keep you quiet. A friend in Christ. My blood went cold. Check the signature cards. Check who has signing authority. I was the treasurer. I had signing authority on the church accounts along with Pastor Williams and the head deacon. Or at least I'd had it last time I checked. But that was months ago. Back in July, when we'd done what the bank called a routine account review. I'd signed some forms, updated my contact information, standard procedure, or so I'd thought. The next morning, I went to First National Bank. I told them I was the church treasurer and needed to verify the current signature authorization on our accounts. The bank manager pulled up our records and printed out the current signature card. There were 4 names on the account: Pastor Marcus Williams, Deacon Theodore Marshall, Deacon James Hughes, Dorothy Freeman. My name wasn't there. It had been removed. "When was this changed?" I asked. My voice was shaking. The manager checked the records. "July 15th, 2024. About 2.5 months ago. Who authorized the change?" "Pastor Williams and both deacons signed off on it. According to the documentation, you were stepping down from treasurer duties due to health concerns, and Ms. Freeman was taking over financial oversight." I just stared at her. "I never stepped down. I never had health concerns. I'm still the treasurer." I presented the financial report to the board just last month. The manager looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, ma'am. That's what our records show. The paperwork was all properly executed." "What paperwork?" She pulled up the documents on her computer and printed them out for me. There was a letter on church letterhead, signed by Pastor Williams, stating that I was resigning as treasurer for health reasons, and Dorothy Freeman would be assuming my financial duties. There was a form removing my signing authority. There was a form adding Dorothy as a signer. All dated July 15th, 2024. The routine account review I'd signed forms for that day hadn't been routine at all. They'd removed me from the accounts, and I'd been so trusting, so used to Dorothy handling the administrative details, that I'd signed whatever she put in front of me without reading it carefully. I took those papers and walked out of that bank feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. They'd removed me from the accounts 2.5 months ago, without telling me, and they'd forged a letter saying I'd resigned for health reasons. But I hadn't resigned. I'd never resigned. I was still presenting financial reports every month, reports that Dorothy prepared from falsified summaries, still attending board meetings, still fulfilling my treasurer duties. Except I wasn't really the treasurer anymore. I was a figurehead, a front. Someone to present clean financial reports based on Dorothy's doctored summaries, while the real activity, the withdrawals, the theft, the cover-up, happened behind the scenes where I couldn't see it. And when Dorothy got caught and had to resign suddenly, they tried to keep it all quiet, handle it internally, avoid scandal. They never planned to tell me what happened. They were going to let me keep presenting false financial reports, keep playing treasurer, keep being used as their unknowing accomplice while they dealt with the embezzlement privately. I sat in my car in that bank parking lot, and for the first time in 18 years at Greater Hope Missionary Baptist Church, I felt completely and utterly alone. The people I'd trusted, the people I'd served beside, the pastor I'd respected, they'd cut me out, lied to me, used me, and I still didn't know the full story of why. Let me pause again to catch you up. I received an anonymous package containing bank statements that showed Dorothy Freeman had been embezzling thousands of dollars from the church for 3 years. She'd been creating false monthly summaries to give me, so I never knew about the real withdrawals. When I went to the bank, I discovered something even worse. 2.5 months ago in July, Pastor Williams and the deacons removed me from the church accounts without telling me. They forged a letter saying I'd resigned for health reasons, and I unknowingly signed the removal forms thinking it was routine paperwork. They gave Dorothy full financial control. When she got caught and had to resign, they tried to handle it quietly and keep me in the dark. I still don't know why they cut me out or what their full plan was. Now let me tell you what happened when I confronted them. I didn't go home. I drove straight to the church. It was Thursday morning, and I knew Pastor Williams would be in his office. I walked in without knocking. He looked up from his desk, and I saw surprise flash across his face. Then something else. Something like resignation. "Sister Vanessa, why did you remove me from the church accounts?" My voice was calmer than I expected. Cold, controlled. He stood up slowly. "I think you should sit down." "I don't want to sit down. I want to know why you removed me from the accounts, forged a letter saying I resigned, tricked me into signing removal forms, and kept me in the dark while Dorothy Freeman stole thousands of dollars from this church." His expression hardened. "How did you find out? Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters. Who sent you those documents?" "Someone who thought I had a right to know. Someone who thought the church treasurer should be informed when there's massive financial fraud happening. Someone who apparently has more integrity than the pastor and deacons of this church. Vanessa." He sat back down heavily. This situation is more complicated than you understand. Then uncomplicate it for me. Why was I removed from the accounts? He was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. Because we needed to protect you. Protect me from what? From suspicion, from investigation, from potential legal liability. I stared at him. What are you talking about? When we first discovered discrepancies in the church accounts back in May, we didn't know who was responsible. The monthly reports you were presenting looked fine, but an anonymous tip suggested there were problems with the actual bank activity. When we got copies of the real bank statements, we saw withdrawals that weren't in your reports. Large cash withdrawals, over and over. Dorothy was filtering those out of the summaries she gave me. We didn't know that at first. All we knew was that money was being stolen, and the person presenting the financial reports to the board, you, wasn't reporting it. So we had to investigate quietly. And that meant we had to consider everyone with access to the accounts as a potential suspect. The words hit me like a physical blow. You thought I was stealing from the church? We didn't know. We couldn't rule you out. The simplest explanation was that whoever was stealing was also controlling the financial reports to hide it. And you were the one presenting those reports. But I was getting those reports from Dorothy. She prepared the monthly summaries from the bank statements. I just presented what she gave me. We didn't know that for certain. For all we knew, you and Dorothy could have been working together. Or you could have been acting alone and using Dorothy as a cover. We had to investigate everyone. So, instead of asking me directly, instead of trusting the woman who'd served faithfully as treasurer for 8 years, you removed me from the accounts in secret, forged documents saying I'd resigned, and tricked me into signing removal forms? We needed to isolate the problem. So we removed everyone from signing authority except Dorothy, then monitored the account activity. If the withdrawals stopped, we'd know it had been you or one of the deacons. If they continued, we'd know it was Dorothy. And they continued. For 2 more months, July and August, every week, more cash withdrawals, same patterns, same amounts. That's when we knew for certain it was Dorothy. She'd been doing it all along, forging authorization signatures on the withdrawal slips, altering the bank statements before summarizing them for you, creating false monthly reports so you'd never see the real activity. And when you confirmed it was her, when you knew I was innocent, you still didn't tell me. You still kept me in the dark. You still let me present false reports to the board. We confronted Dorothy privately in early September. She admitted everything, broke down, begged us not to go public, said she'd pay back every penny if we just let her resign quietly and handle it through private restitution. And you agreed. We wanted to give her a chance at restoration. Matthew 18 says to go to your brother privately first. We wanted to handle this biblically, not destroy her publicly when she was showing repentance. What about the church, Pastor? What about the congregation who gave sacrificially, who tithed faithfully, who trusted that their money was being used for God's work? What about me, the treasurer who was unknowingly presenting false reports because you didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth? We were going to tell you. Once Dorothy had paid everything back, once the situation was fully resolved, we were going to restore your signing authority and explain what had happened. When? In 18 months when she finished paying it back? Were you going to let me be your puppet treasurer for 1.5 years, presenting doctored reports while you handled the real finances behind my back? We were trying to protect you from the stress of it all, from the burden of knowing, from having to keep a secret that might destroy you. You were trying to protect yourselves. You were trying to avoid scandal. You were trying to sweep sin under the rug and call it biblical restoration, when really it's just institutional cover-up. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is using me. What's not fair is lying to me. What's not fair is making me complicit in fraud without my knowledge or consent. Sister Vanessa, I'm done. I stood up. I'm done being lied to. I'm done being used. I'm done with all of it. Where are you going? I stopped at the door and looked back at him. I'm going to do what you should have done from the beginning. I'm going to tell the truth. If you do that, you'll destroy this church. You'll ruin Dorothy's life. You'll create division and scandal that will take years to heal from. No, Pastor. Dorothy ruined her own life when she chose to steal. You created division when you chose to cover it up. And the scandal exists whether I talk about it or not. The only question is whether this church is going to face it honestly or keep hiding it in darkness. Please, think about what you're doing. I have thought about it for 3 days now since I got that package. And I've prayed about it, and I know what I have to do. I walked out. That Sunday, I did something I'd never done before. I requested time during the announcements to address the congregation. Pastor Williams tried to deny the request, but I stood up anyway, walked to the front, and when the deacon with the microphone hesitated, I took it from his hand. 400 people looked at me, waiting. "Good morning, church family," I said. My voice was steady, clear. Many of you have noticed that Sister Dorothy Freeman resigned suddenly 2 weeks ago. You've probably wondered why. You've probably heard different rumors and explanations. I'm here this morning to tell you the truth. I could see Pastor Williams standing off to the side, his face pale. Deacon Marshall was shaking his head. First, Lady Williams looked horrified, but I kept talking. For the past 3 years, Dorothy Freeman has been embezzling money from this church. She's stolen tens of thousands of dollars through unauthorized cash withdrawals that she hid by giving me falsified monthly financial summaries to present to the board. When church leadership discovered the theft back in May, they decided to investigate secretly. They removed me from the bank accounts in July without telling me, making me sign removal forms that I thought were routine paperwork. They forged a letter saying I'd resigned as treasurer for health reasons. They gave Dorothy full financial control while they monitored her activity. When they finally confirmed she was responsible, they confronted her privately and allowed her to resign quietly in exchange for promising to pay back the stolen money over 18 months. They planned to keep the entire situation hidden from the congregation, and they planned to keep me in the dark indefinitely, letting me continue to present falsified reports while they handled the real finances behind my back. The sanctuary was completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. I believe in forgiveness, I continued. I believe in restoration. I believe in giving people the opportunity to repent and make things right. But I also believe in transparency. I believe in accountability. I believe that a church family has the right to know when someone in a position of trust has violated that trust. You have the right to know that the money you gave sacrificially was stolen. You have the right to know that your leadership chose to cover it up rather than address it openly. You have the right to know that I, your treasurer, was used as an unknowing accomplice in presenting false financial reports while being deliberately kept ignorant of the truth. And you have the right to decide, as a body, how this church should move forward. I set down the microphone, and I walked out. I didn't go back to Greater Hope Missionary Baptist Church after that Sunday. I received phone calls, voicemails, text messages, emails. Some from people who were angry that I'd caused division. Some from people who thanked me for telling the truth. Some from people who demanded more details. Some from people who said I should have kept it private. I didn't respond to most of them. I'd said what needed to be said. The rest was between them and God. But I did respond to one call. It came 3 days after that Sunday, from a woman I'd never met. She said her name was Patricia, and she was a member of the church board at another congregation across town. "I heard what happened at Greater Hope," she said. "I heard what you did, and I want you to know. The same thing happened at our church 2 years ago. Different people, different circumstances, but the same cover-up, the same pressure to keep quiet, the same biblical restoration that was really just protecting the institution's reputation. What did you do?" I asked. I kept quiet, like they wanted, and I've regretted it every day since. Because the person who stole from us, they moved to another church and did it again. Because we let them leave quietly with a good reputation, they were able to get into another position of trust and hurt more people. I'm sorry that happened. I'm calling because I want to tell you something. What you did took courage, and it was right. The truth is always right, even when it's painful, even when people hate you for it, even when it cost you your church home. "Thank you," I whispered. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. Don't let them convince you that transparency is the same thing as gossip or that accountability is the same thing as judgment. You did what leaders are supposed to do. You protected the body. 3 weeks after I walked out of Greater Hope, I heard through a mutual friend that Pastor Williams had resigned. The deacons had been removed from leadership. The church had voted to hire an independent auditor to examine all financial records from the past 5 years. And Dorothy Freeman had been formally charged with embezzlement after the church board decided, under pressure from the congregation, not to accept her private restitution agreement. The truth had come to light, not perfectly, not without pain, not without division, but it had come. I eventually found a new church home, a smaller congregation where financial transparency was a core value, where board meetings were open to members, where the leadership believed that accountability protected everyone, including those in authority. And I learned something through that whole painful experience, something about the nature of truth and the timing of God's revelation. For weeks, I'd felt that something was wrong. I'd sensed the unease. I'd noticed the silences, the evasive answers, the looks people gave each other when they thought I wasn't watching. I'd felt the spiritual discomfort that comes when you know, deep in your spirit, that something isn't right, even if you can't name it. But I didn't have proof. I didn't have answers. I didn't have clarity. And that anonymous package didn't arrive until I'd spent weeks in that uncomfortable, confusing place of sensing wrong without seeing it. Looking back, I believe that was intentional. I believe God allowed me to walk through that season of suspense and unease because He was preparing me, teaching me to trust my discernment, showing me that truth delayed is not truth denied. Sometimes God removes our blindfolds slowly, not because He's cruel, but because the full truth all at once would be too much to bear. So He lets us sense it first, feel it first, wrestle with our own intuition first. And when the revelation finally comes, when the package arrives, when the evidence appears, when the proof is undeniable, we're ready. We've already done the spiritual work. We've already wrestled with doubt and confusion. We've already learned to trust that still, small voice that says, something isn't right here. Truth isn't always fast, but it's always faithful. And God's timing, though it often feels late to us, is always perfect. Psalm 37:6 says, He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun. Not immediately, not instantly, but certainly, surely, inevitably. The truth will come to light, maybe not on your timeline, maybe not through the channels you expect, maybe not until you've walked through weeks or months of confusion and unease, but it will come. And when it does, you'll realize that every moment of discomfort, every whispered warning from the Holy Spirit, every instance of intuition that said, pay attention, all of it was God preparing you, getting you ready, removing the blindfold one layer at a time until you could finally see clearly. If you're in that place right now, if you sense something is wrong but you don't have proof yet, if people are keeping secrets that you know affect you, if you're walking through confusion and waiting for clarity, hold on. Keep trusting your discernment. Keep listening to that still, small voice. Keep asking God to show you the truth, even if the truth is painful. Because He will. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but He will shine light on what's been hidden. He will vindicate those who've been wronged. He will expose what's been covered up. And when that package arrives at your door, literally or metaphorically, you'll be ready for it. If this story spoke to you, if you've ever felt God warning you quietly about something you couldn't quite see yet, would you do me a favor? Hit that like button. Let me know this resonated with you. And leave a comment. Tell me about a time when you sensed something was wrong before you had proof. Tell me about how God eventually revealed the truth. Tell me about your journey from suspicion to clarity. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Someone who's in that confusing waiting place. Someone who needs to know they're not crazy for sensing what they can't yet see. And please, subscribe to Sister Circle Stories. We're building a community of women who aren't afraid to talk about the hard things, the uncomfortable things. The things that happen in our churches that we're often told to keep quiet about. We're telling truth, we're trusting God, and we're walking through it together. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for walking with me through the suspense and the confusion, and the eventual revelation. May God give you discernment to sense what you can't yet see. May He give you patience to wait for His timing. And may He give you courage to speak truth when the blindfold finally comes off. Stay faithful, stay alert, stay trusting, because the truth is coming. Maybe not fast, but it's coming. God bless you, sisters.